I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial itch, but was always too scared to take that leap. I just felt really passionate about this topic of not mom mentorship in particular, but like supporting and helping moms at scale.
Jobs like the job that we had literally kind of changes the programming of the
Yeah.
way that you view productivity and achievement. Leaning into being with my kids, like a measure of success of a wonderful day, are like laughs and smiles and full bellies and clean clothes. All right. Hello. Welcome to Mother Wife, everybody. I am so excited to be introducing Miss Jiemi Gao. She also spent 10 years at Deloitte, which we were just joking is measured in dog years. So I said, so you spent 70 years at Deloitte. So more than me. I only got up to just over 8. But we were connected via a mutual connection at Deloitte, and I'm very thankful that our paths were brought together. There were so many similarities between our experiences. She also has young children. So Jiemi, could you just briefly introduce yourself for everybody?
Yes. Thank you, Caitlin. My name is Jiemi Gao. I am a mother of 2. I have a 6-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and we live in New York City. I, like you mentioned, was in strategy consulting at Deloitte for a decade, just a long time. And now I am out of consulting, building my own startup called Nori, which is a mom mentorship platform. Happy to share more about that. And yeah, I left Deloitte in November 2024, started Nori a month after that. I had a plan and everything was going according to plan until it was not. But I'm really enjoying building Nori right now. I feel like I've got, really great users, really great experience. And yeah, I'm just enjoying the real impact I'm making now in people's lives.
Would young Jiemi be surprised at what you are doing right now, and that you made this big jump as a mother of 2 young kids to leave a not normal career in management consulting? That is not a normal 9-to-5 job. To leave a not normal career for another not normal career, which is starting your own business.
I want to say that not only the young Jiemi, I think I am still surprised that I'm doing this. I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial itch, but was always too scared to take that leap. I think I will continue to surprise myself because I'm learning so much every day.
And you're chasing a passion. This is something where you had this amazing idea and you've started something from nothing. That's an incredible thing. So that's exciting to see what it will become and how it evolves along the way. So
Yeah.
what are some insights that you have learned so far from the Nori community as you're about a year in?
A year and a little bit. So I started with, I did a really quick beta with 100 people using like a Google Sheets version. I think from that I learned a lot about sort of who my target audience could be, what they're looking for, what kind of mentorship or help they need from a community like Nori. And then I launched the official sort of technology platform in October last year. So I would say I'm very early in this journey, but I am learning a lot, and I'm learning a lot about just motherhood in general. Like I have my own version of motherhood, and I think the lens through which I looked at motherhood was very narrow because, everybody goes through their own set of experiences and challenges. But I think now that I've been building Nori for a year, I see so many different versions of motherhood. And I think there's just value in sharing these different versions to broaden your perspective, get ideas, share experiences.
We had so many kind of career parallels, and then you then turned around and jumped into literally launching a motherhood mentorship community. I thought that I would love to share the insights that you have from your entire community. Would be awesome.
In Nori right now, there's about 290 topics, which is a lot. And it goes from anywhere, in the early process of like fertilities of like people are not even pregnant yet and are trying and maybe going through, different fertility journeys to all the way on the other end where, I have members who have adult children and experiencing perimenopause
Mhm.
and, so there's a really broad range of topics on Nori today. I hold these like circles that are recurring on a monthly basis and with 4 to 5 people, relatively small group, and each of these group circles have a different topic that they are discussing, or rather I would actually categorize them as different life stages that these moms are in.
Yeah.
So there's a group on early motherhood, so all of these moms have kids under 2, and they talk about all the sort of immediate challenges of being a new mom. And but one thing I think I want to point out is like one thing unique about Nori is a lot of the discussion centers around the mom. So for that early motherhood group circle, we talk a lot about sort of the mom's transition from a career focused sort of career driven person to now kind of focusing only on this one human little human, right, that they're caring for. So I think, a lot of the topics and discussions are centered around the mom in that group. There's another group on identity crisis and the identity shift and people thinking about taking a career pause and doing more self-care. I know that's a lot, but there's a common thread in there where women began to think about what does motherhood mean to them and how can they arrange their life around what they need instead of kind of going full steam on what the family needs, what the kids need, in all of their other roles. So that's another group, and then there's one group on return to work, and that's a big one because there's a big shift in your priorities when you first go back to work.
Right.
And so, a lot of people really struggle with that and they really need peer support in that topic. So, those are all just topics that people have energy for. They can't find sort of groups or support elsewhere. They can read on Reddit or on Facebook mom groups, but it's really hard when you're kind of struggling with it and not being able to verbalize sort of your needs. So these are great groups.
Totally relate to that. Not being able to even verbalize sometimes how I'm feeling or what I need. I had to do a lot of work on that. And part of the reason for me even starting this series was that I felt as though there wasn't someone out there with similar background or experience as me who then made this decision to walk away and set it all down. It's like I knew of, a handful maybe in different jobs, so not management consulting, or I knew
Hmm.
somebody who exited consulting at the SC level. But, I was a senior manager about to be up for partner running a practice. And I chose
Hmm.
to set it all down at that point and felt incredibly isolated and alone because most other women I felt. So this may not be true, but in my perception, it felt as though the other women I knew in my circle or outside of it who had ascended to that level just stuck with it and stuck it out. And their career was like, and I just said, you know, this is no, not right now. Maybe one day, but not right now while I have this beautiful 4-year-old, this beautiful 6-year-old at home, and we hope to expand our family. So, um, I can just only imagine that with your community and the mentorship, the connections, you're literally changing people's lives and like the type of mom that they can be by just bringing those people together.
I think there's a lot of women who also it's not a choice for them, right? Just in New York City, cost of childcare is
Mhm.
crazy high. So sometimes it like makes more sense to be at home, taking care of your children than to send them to a childcare facility or hire a like caregiver. So it's for me, I feel like it's definitely a privilege to be in this position, to be able to be building Nori. I think women needs to support each other and needs to, find yourself in others and others find themselves in you and, to feel like, oh, we are all in this together. We're not alone in any way,
Totally.
experiencing this.
Yeah, that was my most recent sort of hot take on advice for moms was just
Yeah.
I'm going to have my opinion on what works best for my family because that's what works best for my family. And you're
Yeah.
going to have yours, and that might work best for your family. And to
Yeah.
learn how to unlock, like listening to your own instincts and what's right for you may not be right for someone else because you will never know like the full set of their circumstances, their
Mhm.
marriage, their childhood experiences, and that's been something actually that I'm planning to do an upcoming episode on is raising my own kids in a very different way and than how I was raised. And I have struggled
Yeah.
with that, and I'm trying to be very open about that struggle because it's very different. Um, and I wanted to ask you about your village and what it has looked like now going from being at Deloitte and then now running your own company and what that looks like. Has it positively impacted the way you feel that you're able to show up as a mom, as a wife? How do you set boundaries at work? I just asked you 3 questions in one. So good luck.
Let me do it one by one. My village. So my village right now consists of my husband, who actually has a very demanding job,
What
and
does he do?
he's in private equity. So he travels a lot and he works a lot,
Yeah.
but he tries to do his share at home. I have babysitter and housekeeper, that, you know, not full time, like part time, helping out here and there, to lessen a lot of the load at home for me, so that I can focus my time and energy on Nori. Um, and then I have the school communities that we're in, with our kids. So the two our two kids are in two different schools because they're my daughter's in a nursery school and my son's in a kindergarten. So those communities are wonderful as well, and they're my village in a lot of different ways, like helping me drop off my son sometimes, and community events, and so that's another sort of community or village. And then the last one is Nori. Honestly, I think I have benefited more from Nori than maybe the users have, just because I know every single person
Yeah.
on Nori right now, and I know what stage of life they're in, what their superpowers are, and I feel like I can reach out to any one of them at any point in time to ask for help. That goes into your boundary question.
Yeah.
Early this year, it was really difficult for me to set boundaries because, beginning of the year, you want to set goals, you want to achieve goals, you kind of want to kick off the year with a strong start. I think I had a lot of unrealistically high expectations for myself in the beginning of the year, to the point where when I was failing those goals, I felt really disappointed and almost made me want to stop everything that I was
Mhm.
doing. And I was like, I just want to surrender to, whatever in my life I like I cannot control,
Mhm.
and maybe stop building Nori. I need to, take a moment for myself, and figure out what's going on. And I think through that experience, I realized like I put so much pressure
Yeah.
on myself. And sometimes, building a business is and could be even more demanding than a consulting job because I am literally thinking about it every single waking moment of my life. And so realizing that, and I got a couple of mentors on Nori for myself, to walk me through sort of their
Mhm.
journeys. And that's the beauty of it. They have very similar experiences. They, have been through the thought processes that I've been through. They know what it's like. So I went to them for advice and for emotional support,
Yeah.
really. And it was really helpful. And it really got me out of that mindset. And now I'm not setting goals that I'm not going to be able to achieve. Like, I'm gonna do it day by day. I'm gonna have goals. I'm not gonna beat myself up for not doing them. And I know I'm not doing them not because I'm lazy or I don't want to. It's because kids get sick. There's snow days in New York. You know,
Yeah.
they're just things that are out of my control. I cannot possibly do everything.
Mhm.
So I think I'm better now at, positioning my own mindset for what I can do, and I also try not to do work on the weekends, which has been really helpful.
Yeah. No, that's progress. So I'll share a little bit of our conversation prior because Jamie said, "Oh, is am I your first guest or have you done a couple in the past week?" And I said, "Well, I had a plan and then the plan went to because my son got sick and so he was home with me and then I got sick and I have done so much, Jamie, of what you just said with you turning to the members of your community and getting some advice on um, over indexing with those goals and checking boxes and said, yes, I've accomplished this. Yes, I've accomplished that. And those mile markers that I've talked about. And I think jobs like the job that we had and companies like the one we were at that really incentivize you to do that like those are good things, but it literally kind of changes the programming of the
Yeah.
way that you view productivity and achievement. And I've found myself, and this will be the first episode that I have released in several weeks, actually. I found myself then sort of starting to treat this effort, Mother Wife, as a full time job, which I never intended for it to be. My whole point
Mhm.
was, and I named it Mother Wife because I said, I am going to prioritize my job as a mother and a wife first during this chapter of my life while I have
Mhm.
these young kids. And then this project is going to be kind of documenting that process for me and how wonderful and rewarding it is so that I can put it out there and other people can see, hey, this is a rewarding and great thing if you feel called to do so. It started taking over my my thoughts, as you just
It's
said,
hard.
where you
Yeah.
just said, every waking moment, I was thinking about it. And so I just threw on the brakes big time and was like, "No, this is not the point." And these goals that I'm setting for Mother Wife and this constant I was like, I want to go about my role of being the best mom and spouse as I can be, because just like your husband, my husband's also in a very demanding job. I wanna treat those with that level of thought and care and set goals in terms of that, and I was not doing
Mhm.
that. So I basically threw on the brakes and called myself out and am trying to stay very, very true to the point of this, which is to prioritize raising my kids during the season, and that's right for me, and it takes a lot of self-discipline to be able to, like, call yourself out and do that. Um, yeah.
I think you're right, like, you're programmed, like,
Yeah.
you were
Mhm.
programmed to hit milestones and achieve, right? And I am too, and I think to some extent you have done a s you kind of went a step further than I did. I didn't explicitly state that I'm going to prioritize my family. Though as I'm working on Nori, I do prioritize
Mhm.
my family, right? If my kids are sick, if we have things that we are going to do with my son's school, I'm going to go to it.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that, you
You've
I
created
think
conditions where you can. You've now created the conditions where you are
yeah,
able to prioritize your family where you need to. And you are.
yeah. Yeah, and I think I didn't set that explicit goal or that I call it like a North Star, right? That is the only thing that I'm going to do. But
Sorry, us saying
sorry,
North Star, it's so consulting.
I know,
I know.
yeah,
No, I
you probably
can't. I
haven't.
say the same thing. I do. I'm like, our North Stars, our strategic priorities, how are we going to go about achieving this? Our core values, our all of that good training.
Yeah, no, yeah, but I think one thing that I have explicitly, and when I said in my intro that plans have
Mhm.
changed, um, I initially, when I first started out building Nori, I initially thought I would go and raise money and I would build a team. I would do all the things that people in startup world do, right?
Mhm.
And as I got further and further along the journey, I realized that doing that would kind of feel like what you were saying about your experience of like that's not what I left Deloitte for.
Yes. And it's very
Because
tempting to do.
it's very, very tempting. Just for, for my resume, for example, for whatever I can say to others, like what I'm doing. Um, but I think that has changed over the past, I would say 6 months, like the thought of doing that. I think also partly because of what specifically I'm building is a very trust center sort of relationship based business. So for that kind of business to go sort of the VC and the fundraising route, I think would kill the business ultimately.
Mhm.
So I think my mindset has shifted a ton since when I left Deloitte, since starting building Nori to now.
Mhm. Do you feel like your time at Deloitte and then now your time as a startup founder, how have each of those experiences kind of changed the way that you parent or how you approach motherhood?
I'm more creative. My past life in consulting, everything had a framework.
Uh-huh.
Everything had a process. Everything had a work plan. And I think I'm a very structured person. I'm, very
Mhm.
analytical, very data
Yes.
driven. All those things, all the,
Yeah.
stereotype consulting. I think I really let out the creative side of myself
Mhm.
since, starting this journey. And it has really changed the way that I interact with my kids,
Yeah.
right? Like my son is very imaginative. Like he loves to like make up stories. He loves to draw, and I am just not. He sometimes asks me like, "Mom, can you just be more like? Can you use your imagination?" And I'm like, "I don't have. I don't,
But you do.
but I do.
You do.
Everybody has it. It's just how often do you draw on that skill or that capability? And I feel like I didn't do that very often
Mm.
in the past. And now I do. And building features, I'm building a community, I'm talking to people, I'm writing my newsletter, and all of that is creativity.
It
Um,
totally is. Yes.
yeah. So that has changed, greatly, like the way that I parent and talk to my kids.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And that was a massive change for me too, with coming out of consulting and being very, very used to and getting all of that positive external validation from happy clients, impressed colleagues and leaders, getting tapped for leadership positions. And the paycheck, of course, didn't hurt either. Like everything was like you were getting this positive affirmation that was measurable and you could see it on paper. And then leaning into being with my kids, like a measure of success of a wonderful day are like laughs and smiles and full bellies and clean clothes and these tasks to support those things that feel very, very repetitive and as though they are invisible. And
Mhm.
being able to shift your mindset on that, just as you shifted your mindset on creativity and that now kind of manifesting in your life in a different way, it makes a huge, huge difference to just shift your perspective a little bit through a different lens. I know it has for me. I wanted to ask you about what your tipping point was where you decided, you'd been at Deloitte for a decade, that it was time to step out and then not to step out laterally or to another industry role, but instead to start your own business.
Everyone has their own scale or balance that they're looking for. So for me, I wanted to prioritize my family. I want to be able to go to, you know, my son's school events and pick him up when he's sick and, do all these things for my family. But I also need a place where I can use my intellect and I can learn and grow professionally. I need both of those things to thrive. In a consulting job, it is really hard to have those both things. And I would say I'm very greedy and I want to have it all. Um,
Good.
Stepping out of that role, the consulting role, was almost like the only option. But I think the tipping point was the point where I realized or I let go of my ego and my my perception of others' perception of me. So that, it's like the societal expectations of what I should do, what they would think, Jamie did not make senior manager and she left. Um, Once I let go of that, it was a very easy and clear decision. And looking for another job, I mean, I did look into that. I looked into becoming a coach. I looked into going back to school and getting a therapy, like becoming a therapist. I looked into all of those options. And then I think ultimately I just felt really passionate about this topic of not mom mentorship in particular, but like supporting and helping moms at scale.
Mhm.
Because I know
Mhm.
all of those other things I was going to explore, I probably will be able to make individual impact on people's lives. But to me, that's not enough. And I know that there will be people out there who can, help each other. And I want to be able to facilitate that. And I know I have sort of the professional experience and the skill set to make that happen.
And for anybody listening who might feel reluctant to take a leap like that or kind of bet on themselves in a way because they feel like they might not have that skill set in its entirety to go and do this. When you made this decision, what do you feel like was a skill set you did not yet have? Something new that you needed to learn
Yeah.
or skill up on? I see that you're laughing.
Well,
So like that.
for one, I didn't know how to code. So, um, that was a
Did you hire a coder or did you learn how to code?
I
Or
I
did you do both?
I learned a little bit, and I used AI. So,
Mhm.
I actually vibe coded the Nori platform. 80% of Nori was vibe coded by me.
Mm.
And if you don't know what vibe coding is, please
I don't
just
know what that
Google it.
means. I
Uh,
was nodding and hoping you'd explain.
I can explain. It's you type so there are all these LLM platforms where you can there's like a coding functionality and you type in sort of what you're looking to build in English. So it's no like you don't have to learn any coding language. And you just type in, I want to build, let's say, a landing page that has A, B, C, and D. And you feed it sort of the data that it needs and it'll build for you.
So instead of having to learn yourself how to be a coder, you learned a little bit of coding and then you use an accelerator again, which exists for tons of stuff, like not just coding.
Yeah.
AI is a beautiful thing. I use Claude every single day.
Yeah.
For honestly, probably my worst fear actually is somebody like getting a hold of everything that I have ever looked up on Claude. Because then they would both realize that I am smart and I am dumb. I'm both. Well, are there any final thoughts that you want to share with everybody, either with respect to you and motherhood and advice that you can either take or not take? Anyone listening?
It sounds great to say that I'm building a startup, building my own business, but it's hard. So if there's any of your listeners who are thinking about taking that leap, I mean, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to chat. But I think there needs to be a little bit of, I wish I maybe did a little more planning, a little bit more reaching out to people who are doing it, have been doing it, and how they're doing this. I
Yeah.
think everybody could benefit from a mentor in that perspective, because it is not an easy
Yeah.
thing. If anything, it's one of the hardest things that you can choose to do.
Well, if anything, I'd say the vast majority of moms who I have talked to are looking to step out of corporate to spend a lot more time with their kids and work on an extremely fractional basis that they can control completely and make as much as they can while doing that. So if you happen to know of any get rich quick schemes where you can work a 5-hour week, just let me know.
I'll keep an eye out for that for
Yeah.
myself. As
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. It was awesome to have you on. And everyone, at any stage of motherhood, whatever you're on, whether that's the beginning of a fertility journey or if you have grown kids, go and sign up at asknori.com. Fill out your profile and get started as a mentor or mentee. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, Caitlin.